Hello and welcome to the Sharpening Report. I am your host, Josh Peck. Tonight we have a very special and unique guest for you. A couple of years ago, and then again just recently, I remember seeing a popular meme on Facebook that went viral. Most listening have probably seen it. On one side of the meme is a picture of a book called The New World Order by A. Ralph Epperson, and on the other side is an excerpt from the book. I'll just point out some of the highlights. It says that the New World Order will make changes in the family. Homosexual marriages will be legalized. It will be difficult for women to be homemakers, and divorce will be exceedingly easier. It also says there will be changes in the workplace, that private ownership of property will be outlawed, and also changes in religion, that believers will be eliminated or imprisoned, and a new religion that worships man and the mind will take over. Sounds a lot like our world today, but here's the thing. This book was published 25 years ago in 1990. When I saw this meme reappear on Facebook recently, I did some digging and found out the author is a Christian and has a wealth of other materials and research. So I decided to track him down and invite him on the show. And luckily enough, he was gracious enough to agree, and I've had the honor of speaking with him on the phone a couple of times since then. And let me tell you, he's an extremely brilliant, gifted individual who's a true, passionate researcher and teacher. Ralph Epperson is also the author of other books, including The Unseen Hand, an introduction to the conspiratorial view of history, and also a number of DVDs, including America's Secret Destiny, as well as others. All of those can be found on his website at ralph-epperson.com. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ralph Epperson to the show. Ralph, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Josh. Thank you very much for inviting me to give me a chance to explain some things that I think your listeners should hear. So I'll be happy to assist.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do it. And, you know, the little bit that I've heard from us talking on the phone, it's completely blown my mind. So I know that it will for the listeners of the show as well. Before we get started with the vital information that you have for us, for those who might not be familiar with your work, can you give us a rundown of your testimony, how you came to know Jesus, and how that led to what you do today?
Yes, thank you. Well, I was a lukewarm Catholic all of my life up until 29 years old. And I lived in Arizona, so after graduation from the University of Arizona, I moved to California, single, by myself. So I went there and started a career, and I didn't know anything about California politics, so I decided I had to correct that situation. So I went to the Young Republicans, and because my mother was a Republican, that's about all I knew. So I said, well, I'll go there. And I walked in, and a guy named Jim, who later became a good friend, I didn't know him at the time. He said, "Why are you here, Ralph?" And I said, "I'm here to learn how to vote on Proposition 101 and for which governor and which congressman, etc." "No, you're not. You're here to read." I said, "Jim, I hate to read. I don't like to read at all." So he said, "No, you're going to read." He gave me a book to read called None Dare Call It Treason, which was a big seller at the time, but I'd never heard of the book. And I read that book, and I realized that Jim was right. There's something going on, and that book started a process that led to about 1,200 books that I've read since then. That was in 1963, so it's over 50 years ago. I got married in Oregon. in Oakland, California, and my wife and I moved to Portland, Oregon, and then we came back to Tucson where I was born, and we had some marital problems, so we decided to, well, I guess this actually happened up in Oregon. It happened up in Oregon. A friend of mine said, "What's the matter, Ralph?" I said, "Oh, my marriage is falling apart." He said, "Well, would you like to talk to my pastor?" And I said, "I'll talk to anybody that can help me save my marriage." I had no money to go to a psychologist, and so he says, "Come sit down and we talked." And he showed me this thing called a Bible, which I was almost totally unfamiliar with. And he convinced me that there were things in the Bible that we as Catholics didn't believe. And he suggested that I become baptized. He asked me, "Do you have a personal relationship with Jesus?" And I said, "No." He said, "Would you like one?" I said, "I didn't know I could have one." He said, "Well, that's what we're here for." So he led me to Jesus, and I was baptized about, maybe 3 months later. So I went to classes with him for a while. And we saved our marriage, but it didn't last very long, and we moved to Arizona. And when we did in Arizona, we got divorced, and I'm a scripturally divorced Christian. Never remarried since then. But I believe my work is probably the best reason why I can't find a woman who'll put up with this. This is scary stuff that I know. But that's basically it. I'm still a Christian. I still believe Jesus. I pray to Jesus. I'll just say one more thing. I believe now, looking back on my life, I'm in my 70s. When I look back on my life, I can tell now, it didn't occur to me at the time, but I have been led by Jesus himself to do the research. Every time I needed the next material, it was provided. And it didn't dawn on me that it was happening until I finally looked backwards, and now I could see it. I was led someplace. God wanted me to read, and I read. And I've been reading, I'm still am, but not as much. I got everything figured out. Well, that's basically what the story is.
Amen. Wow. Well, you've definitely had a lot of really interesting materials out there and research and browsing through some of them myself. I mean, I am just blown away. So I'm really excited to dig into this. I'm actually just going to turn the show over to you and let you kind of guide where we go, because you have some things here that are so phenomenal and mind-blowing, and I really think that the audience is going to get a lot from this. So where would you like to start?
Okay, well, let me do this. Let me suggest to your listeners, I believe I asked you when we talked about this material last night, I said, please be open and give me a chance to explain myself. Now, that's what I'm asking your listeners. Please be open. We're going to try to do this in 2 hours. You're going to have to dedicate 2 hours of your life, and I'm going to tell you, when we get finished, your life's never going to be the same. Yeah. There's things going on that I can explain that the average American has no idea. He can see the problem, but doesn't know why. I'm going to tell you why. That's what this is all about. Secondly, this is not going to be pleasant, because we're going to discover that there is indeed a conspiracy at work in this nation right now. It's happening right now. The reason these things are happening is because a conspiracy wants them to happen. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, so please listen. Please be open. I don't probably many of your listeners have been on a jury, but when you're on a jury, the judge says to you, you are to dismiss all of your previous ideas and just be open. Hear both sides. Well, you've heard the other side all your life, no matter how old you are, but you've never heard my side, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, lastly, we talked about this last night briefly, and I think you would agree with me that words have meaning.
Yes.
If they don't have meaning, then conversation is totally meaningless. I'll give you an example. You're talking about the moon, and I'm not talking about applesauce. So we have no communication until we both know we're talking about the moon. So words have meaning. They were written down, and we're going to read those words, and we're going to define them with a common language. We're going to show you that our founding fathers betrayed this nation. Oh, I don't believe that, Rob. Well, that's why I'm going to ask you to be open, because I didn't believe it either. And if you'll trust me for 2 hours, I guarantee you, if you listen, it's going to, like you did last night, and I thank you for being honest, and it did have an effect on your thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And we only briefly covered this. But okay, so now that we know that, let's get started. Now, everybody remembers Ben Franklin. In fact, there were a bunch of stores named after him when I was growing up here called the Ben Franklin stores. There were things were cheap. But let me tell you a quick story. Ben Franklin signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He was only one of 9 men that did that. And that is very, very significant to what we're going to talk about. Now, let me tell you this. He wrote an autobiography. It's been republished back in the 1770s, or maybe 80s when he was getting a little older. But he was very actively involved in the Declaration, which was 1776, and the Constitution, which was 1787. Now, in his autobiography, these are his words written down. He said that we in the legislature in Pennsylvania wanted to buy some gunpowder. Now, he didn't explain why, but this is very significant to what the whole story of this thing is going to be. So they said, well, how do we get them to approve that? Because they're Quakers in Pennsylvania. They'll never approve us buying gunpowder. So Mr. Franklin and his friends wrote up legislation to buy bread, wheat, corn, and other grain. So the things, oh, he must be here. We're going to feed the prisoners, or maybe buy some cookies, or for the legislature, or whatever it was. So that's okay. We'll approve that. So they approved that they got the money, and they bought gunpowder. And the clerk said, wait a minute, we didn't authorize gunpowder. And Franklin said, yes, you did, because gunpowder is a grain.
Oh, okay.
See what they just did?
Yeah.
Then he gave a second example. That was just one of two. He said we wanted to buy a great gun. Now, I can only presume a great gun means a huge cannon, and I don't know why, but that's what he said in the book. We wanted it, so we knew that the Quakers would never approve that. So they wrote up legislation to buy a fire engine. I presume that was to protect the Capitol, and the Quakers said, well, we certainly could use a fire engine. Ben Franklin's a very wise man, and he thinks we need one. He can get one. So he said, okay, we'll agree to that, and they bought the great gun. And the Quakers came and said, wait a minute, we didn't approve that. He said, yes, you did. And Franklin, in his own words, said, surely a great gun is a fire engine.
Oh, wow.
They have been using words to deceive ever since. Franklin was one of 9 men who signed both the Declaration and the Constitution. And please keep that in mind. Because wait till we show you how Franklin deceived us by giving us gunpowder, other grain, and a great gun. And all the time we thought that's what it was. It wasn't. Now, I'm flipping through a notebook here, and I've got this stuff done now pretty much by rote, but I've still got to try to follow an outline. So I'm flipping through pages to the next part here. Okay, now, let me give you some evidence that there's a conspiracy at work in the United States. Now, you and I didn't talk about this last night. I told you we're going to embellish it with other material. But let me tell you this. Everybody knows who Bill Clinton is. Even the young people listening today might remember him. When his wife is running for the presidency.
Yep.
Bill Clinton went on national television on July the 16th, 1992. Many of your listeners might not even have been alive then, but I was. And he told us on a live, nationally broadcast television speech that there was a conspiracy at work in this nation and that he supported it. He said it with his own mouth.
Wow.
Now, why would he do that? He was trying to tell the American people, but he was in support of this conspiracy, and I'm in opposition. Now, let me tell you what he said. This was the night that he accepted the Democrat National Party's nomination for the presidency. So this was his acceptance speech. And during that, about an hour and a half or however long it took, he said this, quote, as a teenager, I heard John Kennedy's summons to citizenship. And then as a student at Georgetown University, I heard that call clarified by a professor I had named Carroll Quigley. Now, everybody, well, I'm sure most even the young people know who John Kennedy was. He was president who was assassinated. Yep. Now, how did Clinton know President Kennedy? Well, there's a picture been released. You can see it on the internet of Clinton shaking the hand of John Kennedy in 1963 during the summer. Now, it had to be in the summer because just a few months later, Kennedy was assassinated in November. So this was in July or August sometime. Now, that's that. But who on earth is Dr. Carroll Quigley? Well, I knew who he was. I did not hear the speech. But within minutes of it, I must have had a dozen phone calls from people all over the country. Did you hear what Bill Clinton said? I said, no. So they documented, they asked me to. Now, I want you to know you can read this speech yourself. You can read it in his book called Putting People First. It was a book that he wrote in 1992, and he's transcribed the whole speech, and you can read what I'm going to read to you now, because Dr. Quigley told him an awful lot. Now, Clinton graduated from high school in 1964, and he went to Georgetown as a university, and from 64 to 68. Now, the reason those dates are important is because right in the middle, approximately, in 1966, Quigley wrote a book called Tragedy and Hope. As soon as I heard about this book, I bought a copy. I skimmed it because it's very boring and tedious reading. It's like 1,300 pages long. It's very big and huge. But there are some things in there that we need to know. Now, let's talk about that book, because I can prove that book was required reading for Quigley's class. Now, apparently he was only teaching one class, but that class was attended by Bill Clinton. We know that for certain because he just praised Dr. Quigley for getting him into politics. Well, what did he convince him to do that? This is what he learned. Let's take that book a few pages at a time. He was a PhD from Harvard, Quigley, and he taught at Princeton and Harvard, and then came to Georgetown. And that's where Clinton met him in between 64 and 68. Page 950. If anyone's got the book, please get it out and read along with me. Or if you don't have it, then let's talk and I'll make sure we can read it. Quigley wrote, there does exist and has existed for a generation, that means about 40 years, an international Anglophile network. Now, the word Anglophile means primarily English, but notice he said it was international. So there's been an international network which operates to some extent in the way the radical right, that's me, believes the Communist Act, because I'm in opposition. In fact, this network, which we may identify as the Round Table groups, which is just a name of the group, he went on to say, has no aversion to cooperating with the communists or any other group, and frequently does so. Now, wait a minute. Why would these British and then internationalists who were capitalists and wealthy, why would they want to deal with the communists? He just said they do it often. Right. Why? Communism killed people, millions of people, and these guys are trading with them. Why? Well, Clinton learned, there's a conspiracy, and there's a reason for this. Now, Quigley went on to say, I'll summarize, he claimed to have been made privy to their papers, secret papers, for 2 years. And before he wrote his book. That means they wanted him to research it and write Tragedy and Hope. Wow. So that would get that book out into circulation and people would read it. So he knew about it 20 years in advance. He reviewed their secret papers for 2 years, and he supported their goal. Page 73, listen to this. This network expected to control both political parties equally. Huh? What political parties? The Democrats and the Republicans. Huh. They're going to control both parties equally. Now, hold on, America. Please, I'm trying to tell. Okay, some of these international Anglophile network members intended to contribute to both parties and to allow an alternation of the two parties in public office in order to conceal their own influence, inhibit any exhibition of independence by politicians, and allow the electorate to believe they were exercising their own free choice.
Wow.
Did you hear what he just said? They control both parties, and they fund both parties. It doesn't matter who we select or elect. They select two candidates, they fund both of them, and then no matter who wins, they win and we lose.
Wow.
This is what Clinton was telling us in 1992, and you can read it in his own book, and you can especially read it from Tragedy and Hope. Do you understand? What Clinton did was confirm 50 years of my research.
Yeah.
But I've been saying the same thing for, probably 40 of those 50 years. Now, let's talk about this Obama recession we're in, and let's find this very interesting. I want to go back to 1999. Now, come on, Ralph, I wasn't even born then. Okay, well, whatever. Let's talk about this. We have a recession today. We've had it since at least during the time of Bush, the younger. But let's talk about this. Now, Josh, I'm going to appoint you a bank president. And I'm going to come to you and say, Josh, I want you to start making loans as bank president to people who can't pay you back. What would you say, Josh?
Okay.
You say, okay, you're going to go bankrupt, Josh.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what they did, isn't it?
Well, let me finish. Okay, let me just start by saying this. No banker in his right mind will make loans that he knows will not get paid back.
Exactly.
He's not loaning out his money, gambling it. He's loaning out the money of the depositors who are friends of his.
Yeah.
And maybe some of his own money. He's got to get him to get paid back, and plus interest. We charge money for interest. No banker would make a loan like that unless, now that's what we're going to talk about. The New York Times, and by the way, this whole article's on the internet. It's the New York Times, write this down, September the 30th, 1999. Now, the New York Times, when it publishes an article, it is really saying what the establishment who runs this country wants you to know.
Right.
So listen to what this guy said. It was written by a man by the name of Stephen Holmes for the New York Times. And once again, check it out and read it. In a move that could help increase home ownership, well, of course, it will get more people to own homes. That's really a good idea. Rates among minorities and low-income consumers, the Fannie Mae Corporation. The Fannie Mae Corporation is a semi-public agency that works to contribute and get bankers to do things. So they're going to encourage the banks to extend home mortgages to individuals whose credit is generally not good enough to qualify for conventional loans. If you were the president and I was from this Fannie Mae and said, listen, Josh, we want you to start making loans where you got no guarantee you're going to get paid back. You'd say, get out of my office. You're crazy.
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
You?
Yeah.
One banker would not say that. Well, let me tell you what it says on the next paragraph. Fannie Mae has been under increasing pressure from the Clinton administration to expand mortgage loans among low and moderate income people. What? Clinton, what are you doing? Are you insane?
Right.
He's encouraging the bankers. Gosh, Clinton walks in and says, I'm President Clinton, you know me, I'm Mr. President. I'm going to urge you to start making, you're going to say, Clinton, I don't care who you are, get out of my office.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. There's a little incentive here, and it was told to us later on in the article. They quoted some guy named Peter Wallison, who's meaningless. I don't care. He was a resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, so I guess he was a critic. He said, quote, if they fail, these banks, the government will have to step up and bail them out.
Oh, and, wow.
Wait a minute. Now, Josh, maybe you'll want to start doing this.
Right.
It's going to look good in your resume. The Bank of Johnson, Pennsylvania, led by President Josh Peck, is doing everything it can to make loans available to low income and poor quality. But they don't know that those loans are going to be bailed out who's going to bail them out? The government.
Right.
So there was Josh goes, listen, I've got 3 loans, they're not collectible. I want to bail them out, and the government says, okay, how much do they pay? Total $200,000. Here's $200,000, so you're back balancing your budget.
Wow.
That's not too shabby. Now, who bails out the government?
Right.
They don't have any money.
Right.
Well, of course, they borrow the money from the Federal Reserve. That's the nation's bank. Now, when they do that, they say, well, gee, we don't want to just give money away. We need to get bailed out as well. Well, who bails out the Federal Reserve? The taxpayers.
Wow.
Now, wait a minute. We're going to get bailed out? Yeah, of course. No, the taxpayers don't get bailed out. Do you understand what's going on?
Yeah.
This was all done by design. All the time that Bush the Younger was in office, this was going on. These bad loans, the banks are loaning out, everything being bailed out, and the checks are being written. And finally, Obama gets in office, and they said, boy, we're in a recession. Bad things are happening. And I can blame that guy Bush, and boy, I'll tell you, I don't. Now, let me give you an example of how you can make it work. Let's talk about a depression. Now, depression is more serious than a recession.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about the depression of 1920. That's about nearly 100 years ago. I have a magazine called the Intercollegiate Review. It's called the Journal of Scholarship and Opinion, fall 2009. But all of this stuff that we're talking about now doesn't sound like it's germane, but I'm going to show you that it is. Okay, now, it's all part of the same process. Now, Here we go with this. When I was in college, I was in the business college at the University of Arizona, and I was majoring, and we talked in our economics classes, we talked about that crash in 1929, boy. It took 9 years for Roosevelt to solve it. And we never talked about the Depression of 1920. I wonder why. I'm going to tell you why. Let me tell you what happened. The Depression started in 1920, and unemployment went up to 12%. And Obama's been dealing with 8 or 9%. This is 50% more. So Warren G. Harding was elected in November of 1920, and during his campaign, he promised he's going to solve the problem as soon as he gets elected. And as soon as he got elected in March of 1921, he started doing things. He cut the government's budget nearly in half. What? He cut tax rates for all income groups. The national debt was reduced by 1/3, so not to pay interest on it. By the late summer, meaning August and September of 1921, just 6 months after Harding started, from 12%, the unemployment rate was 6%.
Wow.
He solved the Depression in less than a year, 6 months, by doing very economically sound. Oh, but wait a minute, Ralph. Obama did the same thing, didn't he? Josh, you remember, did Obama do that?
Wow.
Oh, no. Obama didn't do that. Why? In other words, they want the recession to continue. Why?
Right.
We're going to answer that question.
Yeah.
Now, less than a year later, unemployment was down to 2.4%. That's the way to solve a depression and a recession. But Barack Obama and George Bush has done nothing about it. Why? You've got to conclude they want that recession to continue. And we're going to talk about why.
Yeah.
We're still in it. Now we can start with the process of showing you how our founding fathers were created. With that information in the background, there's reasons that Barack Obama wants that, and George Bush. Remember what Clinton said. Both parties are controlled by the same people. So Clinton and Bush were allies.
Yeah.
You see pictures of them, they're shaking hands, they're smiling, and everything else. And one should be saying, "Look, boy, you sure are Messianic." No, they don't say that. Bush is very silent about what Obama's doing, and the Congress is, they're just standing by and allowing it to happen. They could solve a depression, a recession in less than a year. They're not doing it. Okay, now we're going to start with the Declaratory Act. And just to let your listeners know, when you go to get your copy, I presume it's in front of you, because you and I talked about this, I'm going to ask you to read it from your own copies of this, so that these people don't think I'm making these things up.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Yesterday when we talked, you told me you got your copies off of the internet, so people can find the Declaratory Act of 1766, and I believe you have a copy of it in front of you.
Yes, and if the people listening to the show want to follow along, they can go to constitution.org, and they can find all the documents that we're going to be talking about. So, yep, absolutely.
Now, when was the thing issued?
The Declaratory Act, March 18, 1766.
Okay, now that was 10 years before we declared our independence. This is step number 1 of 3. America, please listen to all 3 steps. You're going to find something very, very interesting, I believe. Okay, now, I asked you yesterday, we went together and read down, and I asked you to underline, because we're going to summarize, we're going to take parts of this. The whole act, by the way, is probably a page or maybe a page and a half long. It's not very detailed. But I want you to read what I asked you to start with the King's Majesty.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see, that the King's Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Lords Spiritual and Temporal and Commons of Great Britain, in Parliament assembled, had and of right ought to have full power and authority to make laws and statutes of sufficient force and validity to bind the colonies and people of America, subjects of the Crown of Great Britain.
Okay, now stop right there. Now wait a minute. How much power is that?
Oh.
He said full power and authority. For what purpose? To bind the colonies and the people.
Yep.
Boy, that's power, baby.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you, would you say that was total power? And you said yes. Would you say it again today?
Absolutely.
That is nothing more than a grab for total power. King George had total, unlimited power. No limit to that power. Full power, he said. And I'll give you an example. If he wanted the people, the subjects, before we declared our independence, the people living in America were subjects of the crown of Great Britain. We were English citizens. So when he got this power, this was our government, the king, telling us, "I'm going to bind you people down with this power." The full power to make laws to bind the colonies and people. Now, if I may just ask you to read the last 4 words.
In all cases whatsoever.
Now, does that say all cases except on Thursdays, or maybe I'll give you 2 for 1 on Black Friday, or we'll do it, but then maybe for the summer, but not. Does that mean forever, as long as I want to?
Exactly.
How many cases does it mean? All cases.
All cases. Yep.
This is total, unlimited power. You've got, as I started out by saying, words have meaning. The words, in all cases whatsoever, means exactly what it says. They're not talking about applesauce. They're talking about all power.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's go to the Declaration of Independence. This is 10 years later.
Okay.
Okay, now I think you have your copy in front of you. When was this issued?
In Congress, July 4th, 1776.
Okay, how long ago was that after the Declaratory Act?
10 years.
10 years. Okay, now read the very top line.
It says, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, now let's talk about that. Is the word united capitalized?
No, it's not.
Okay, so there's no thing called the United States of America, because the word, if they were going to call it, if that was a name, it would be capitalized, like Ralph is capitalized and Josh is capitalized. But it's not capitalized. Why? How about the word states?
Yep, states is capitalized.
Okay, now why is the states capitalized? Now in grammar, when you talk about specific states, those 13 original states, those states right there, 1 through 13, you capitalize the S. Because that's now a name. It's a word meaning describing those specific states. So there's no place called United States of America, is there?
No.
We were creating a nation called America. Who was doing it? The states. Were they united? Yes, they were.
Absolutely.
So we are called America. Our nation is called America. Period. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no such place as the United States. We're going to prove that to you as we continue. So we're America. The states are called states in a nation called America. Now let's go to, hold on, let me flip the page here. Now let's go down to the second paragraph. We should do this, let's do this. I didn't actually underline this, but let's do it easily as well. I want you to go to the second paragraph that starts, we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Okay, I got it.
And just read all the way down to the word governed.
Okay, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
Okay, very good. Now, notice this. They're talking about things that are self-evident. Mm-hmm. That means there's no debate.
Yeah.
You don't argue self-evident. We discuss, whether the evolution is true. You try to analyze, you analyze it, and I give you more. That's not self-evident. But these things are. We're all created equal. We're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And then he said, we the people, up in the paragraph above. So we were called the people, and we were endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Now, please remember that. That was a statement made in 1776. But now let's go to the bottom of this paragraph, and I want you to start reading from the words, the history of the present.
Yep, the history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states.
Okay, now let's stop right there. Okay. The word tyranny is defined as total power.
Yes.
Now notice they said it was absolute power. Like,
yeah.
The word tyranny means absolute power. They said not only that, it's absolute power. They were admitting this is big.
Yeah.
Now, what does the word usurpations mean? They were taking sovereignty over us. When a man is free, he's sovereign. He makes his own decisions. They were violating our sovereignty with usurpations. In other words, I'm going to be your daddy.
Yeah.
By the way, it's an interesting thought. Uncle Sam is an uncle, not our daddy. Ever think about that?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Daddies have different responsibilities than uncles, don't they?
Yeah.
Daddies are supposed to take care of their children. Uncles don't have to do that.
Right.
Uncles, yeah, isn't that interesting? See, we don't talk about that much, do we? So Uncle Sam is not our daddy, he's our uncle. Okay, now let's go back. They were guilty of this stuff. They were doing these things intentionally to violate our sovereignty by creating an absolute tyranny. We're going to further define that. Now let's read the next sentence.
It says, to prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
Okay, now what they were doing was declaring to the peoples of the world, here's the reason we're separating from Great Britain. This is what this guy's been doing. Now, there's about 30 of these, and I asked you to find, I think, about the 20th one, and I think we did it together, and I want you to read the one that starts suspending.
For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
Well, wait. Josh, didn't you just say those words a few minutes? Why are you repeating yourself, Josh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it says, isn't it?
Yeah.
They were extremely familiar with the Declaratory Act. They knew what it did. It gave them the power to legislate in all cases, and that was the reason we were declaring our independence. We wanted to be free of government, especially of the power of all power. So we're saying we're declaring our independence. We're no longer going to be English citizens. We're going to be Americans.
Wow.
They knew lived for 10 years under that. Now, the founding fathers were saying, this is the reason we're declaring, for a candid world, we're going to totally show you why we're doing this. This is the reason we're doing this. Now let's go to the Constitution. Now, you can open up, and I think you'll agree with me, there's a bunch of articles, and there's like 7 or 8 of them, but let's just go to start with this statement. The founding fathers said, listen, we're not going to give all power to one branch of government. We're going to divide the power into 3 branches. Article 1 is going to create the legislative branch, which is going to pass the laws. The executive branch will be in Article 2. That's going to enforce the laws. And Article 3 is going to be the judicial branch, and they're going to interpret the laws to make sure they're constitutional.
Yep.
In other words, not one branch will have all power to do all those things. So that's called the checks and balances. If the president gets too powerful, Congress will stop it. If the Supreme Court gets too powerful, the Congress will stop it. Whatever it is, that's what this was. So we're saying we knew what total power was in one hand. We're going to separate it into 3 branches. I'm going to show you what they did, because we just bought a bunch of other grain at a great gun. Now let's go to Article 1,
yep.
And you'll see that it's the legislative branch of government of the Constitution. Section 1, the legislature. And I ask you to read the very first sentence.
Sure. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives.
Now, what does the word granted mean? Like when you get married, you grant each other certain things, and you're spelled out in the ceremony. It means I'm going to do this, and you're going to do this, and we're going to do this forever, and whatever it is. That's all granted. Those are things that we both agreed to. So we are going to agree, and we're going to list the powers, and we're going to grant it. They're going to be granted 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., all the way through.
Yeah.
So now you go to Article 1, Section 8
yep.
of Article 1. And I'll do this just to save time, Josh, but I want you to just go along with me. You'll see that there are 18 granted powers
Yep.
Congress shall have the power to, and I'm going to just briefly summarize them. The power to collect taxes, borrow money, regulate commerce, establish rules of naturalization, coin money, punish counterfeiters, create post offices, promote patents and copyrights, constitute inferior courts, punish piracy, declare war, raise an army, provide a navy, make rules for the army and navy, call out the militia, and then the 16th one is to organize the militia. Did you see anything there about Hubble Space Telescope as one of the granted powers of Congress?
No.
Let me just ask you this, Josh. Let's say you and I we were from the movie Back to the Future, and we had the ability to time travel, and we're going to go back to 1770 in the 80s and say to the man, listen, we know you're running a constitution and you're going to grant powers. Those are the powers you're going to grant. Now we in the future, and we'll prove to them with something we brought back from the future about something they can know, and they say, listen, we're from the year 2015, and Josh and I are here. We're going to ask you, we want you to delegate the power to build a space telescope. They say, what do you mean, the space? What space? What space? They don't use the word. We call it space, but they call it heaven. So what's this? What's space? Well, we have closets that have space, and my shoes have space inside. But what do you mean? We're talking about the stuff. Oh, I see above us. And you're going to put a telescope up there? We got telescopes. You slide. It's three parts. You slide together. The captains use it to look at the ship or it's floating up towards them. You're going to put that up above our heads? How are you going to do that? How are you going to get it? They would have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So they didn't delegate the power. We didn't have the power to go back in time. There's no power to build a supples, not delegated.
Right.
Now it's time to read the 17th one. Now, by the way, those of us who are studying the Constitution call these clauses. So we're reading Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. It's the 17th with delegated power, but they're not called clauses. They're not even numbered in the Constitution. But we call them, just to find the easiest one, easier, read the 17th one.
Is that the one that says starts to provide for organizing?
No, power to exercise exclusive.
Power to. Oh, okay. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever.
Josh, you did it again. Why are you repeating yourself?
Yeah, no
now, you and I have both agreed that words have meaning.
Absolutely. And
our founding fathers said those words mean total power. Did they just give Congress total power?
Yep.
Wait a minute, Josh. You don't mean that, really. Come on, Josh. You're really joking, aren't you?
I wish I was.
I wish. Notice, please, this is in the Constitution. It's been there for over 200 years, and I'm the first one to ever point it out, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why have our lawyers not founded? Why is the Supreme Court not founded? Why have the congressmen founded? There's a reason they don't want you to know this, and we're going to get into that later.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you once again, Josh. Come on, you're pulling our leg. You made that up, didn't you?
I wish I did.
Would you read it again?
Absolutely. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever.
Period. Just 10 years before, 11 or whatever, it was 12 years before, they said that those words mean total power. And yet they just gave it to Congress. Why? I've been asking that question for about 4 years, and no one has an answer except me. And I have, and we're going to talk about why they did that. Do you understand? They've had the power since the Constitution was written and approved.
Yeah.
Now, I want to be fair. 56 men signed the Declaration, and only 9 of those 56 signed the Constitution. So that means there were 39 men who signed the Constitution. So that was 30, I'm sorry, let's go back. 56 signed the Declaration. 9 of those 56 signed the Constitution. The others went fishing. So 9 of them did sign both. Ben Franklin was one of the 9. Now, you could argue, well, maybe the other 30 of the 39 didn't know anything about the Declaratory Act, so they just said, well, I guess that's fine. Well, like the Quakers, we'll just approve it. So you could argue, but 9 of them did know, including Ben Franklin.
Wow.
They knew what they did. This is what's called buying grain and a great gun.
Yeah.
They used words to deceive. And there it been in the Constitution for 200 years. It's never been removed. I never knew about this until I found the Declaratory Act, then read the Constitution and the Declaration. I noticed, like you just did, there's those same four words appear 3 times in a row. Why?
Yeah.
Why would our founding fathers do this to us? You cannot argue this out. This is a self-evident truth. There it is, baby.
Yeah.
Let's deal with it. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh boy, hey, Josh, you're very gullible, aren't you? No, you don't have to be gullible. We're doing this to show the American people what our founding fathers did to us.
Yeah.
Now, we're not finished. I think we go from here to the 10th Amendment.
Okay.
Okay, now, let's go back to what we'll have to do this from memory. But in that, I think in the, someplace in the past, we talked about the government of the United States. Where was that? Was that in the, I think that was in the Article 1 section, I'm sorry, in the 17th power, the power to legislate in all cases whatsoever. I think we talked about the United States, the 10-mile square. Was that, I'm sorry, maybe it's in here.
Oh, that's right after, that was right after what we were just talking about.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry. Okay, now I want you to start from the beginning again.
Sure.
Congress shall have.
Wait, Congress shall
Go back to the, yeah, okay.
Wait, are we back in section, section 8, the beginning of section 8?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and...
No. I'm sorry. Going back above that to where it says Congress shall have the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever. Over. So it's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17.
Article 1, Section 8.
Okay, we read part of it, but not all of it.
Oh, right. Okay, so back at the, all right, let me find it here.
And we should have done that at the moment when but I had it listed, but I didn't explain what it was. I just wrote it down. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 reads, Congress shall have the power.
All right. I should have had this highlighted.
Oh, that's okay. You'll find, because you just did a minute ago, Congress shall have the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever. That's what you just read.
Yep, I have it. Yep, exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever. Yep.
Keep going.
Over such district not exceeding 10 miles square as may, by session of particular states and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States.
Oh, wait. What's this United States stuff?
Yeah.
We're not yes, there's a government called the United States.
And this time it's capitalized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now notice this. They're different than we are. We're states. They're not a state.
Right.
They're a government, a district of Columbia, the 10-mile square, Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Congress has total unlimited power to regulate the affairs of Washington, D.C., because that's the seat of the government of the United States. The Washington, D.C. is called the United States. You and I are living in America. It's a separate nation.
Wow.
So we've got America, meaning now 50 states, then it was 13, and we got this thing called the District of Columbia, a separate government. And that government had total power under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 to legislate in all cases whatsoever. Let me give you a couple of examples. I got this out of my newspaper. That's all they, I just read newspapers and books and magazines. Number one, some guy was walking around in Washington, D.C. with a gun in a holster. The Second Amendment says he was arrested and thrown in jail. Wait a minute. Second Amendment says you got the right to keep and bear arms. I live in Tucson, Arizona, a state of the nation known as America, and I go to meetings with people carrying guns and holsters, and I'm glad they're there.
Yeah.
If someone pops in there like they did in France a couple of days ago, these guys are prepared because they know how to use those weapons to start firing back, and I'm glad they're there, because if they don't, I'm going to be dead.
Absolutely.
No, in Washington, D.C., you can't do that because Congress said we don't want you to have the right to keep and bear arms. Because there's no amendment. The Second Amendment doesn't apply in D.C. because they got the power to legislate in all cases whatsoever, given to them by the Founding Fathers in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Is that what we just said or not?
Absolutely.
Okay. The second thing is they got a curfew, which means you better be in bed by 11 o'clock. Well, wait a minute, where's that come? Was that a delegated power? No. But they got the power under the 17th clause to do whatever they wanted. They wanted a curfew. They were having kids get into trouble at 1 o'clock. So they said, you got to be in bed by 11 o'clock. If you're not, so that has to be a delegated power. There's no delegated power for that. Yes, there is. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. The power didn't. Okay, now that we got two separate governments in the Constitution, now we're going to have some fun. Now let's go to the 10th Amendment.
Okay.
And flip back till you find it. Oh, by the way, just in a matter of passing, you don't have to do this, but Article 2 covers the presidency, the executive branch of government. And I want you to know, listen to this. The duties of the president are defined in Article 2. He shall have the power to do, I said he. Oh, wait, does that mean she? Does the word he mean she? Yes or no?
No.
No. They didn't say he or she, whoever, or the president shall. He said he, the president, shall have the following, and he and the word his appear 15 times in Article 1, Article 2, Sections 1 and 2 and 3. 15 times. Now, why did they do that? Let me tell you why. And originally, when the founders came over here, only men could own property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, women couldn't own property. So therefore, now we're going to set up a government. We're going to need government officials. So they decided, the property owners said, listen, we're going to create a government that doesn't have the power to tax too much. And we, the people who own the property, are not going to pay exorbitant taxes. Wow. The majority of people are not going to vote big taxes on themselves. So that was the way they were limiting the power of government, the federal government. You got the power to have taxes, but they're limited, and you're not going to tax us property owners. But then we got to get women into power to vote. Now they can own property, so now we got everybody voting, the majority. Let me tell you this. Let me ask you a question. I live in Tucson, Arizona, and we have bond issues to raise the money for our schools. Now, a bond issue is voted on property owners. So if 51% of the people in my county do not own property, they can vote taxes on the 49% who do own property. Is that called justice?
Wow.
If I vote against it, I don't want to pay I can't afford it.
Right.
But the people who don't own property will not pay the taxes or the interest, but I will.
Yeah.
So why do they have the right to tax me?
Yeah,
Why?
no kidding.
Where's that come from? Think about it, America. Every city in this nation has bond issues. And they're on tax. I get a bill every quarter from my county. Here's the bond issues that we're paying off. We sold bonds, and we have to pay those bond owners interest, and you got to pay it. Well, I didn't vote. I couldn't afford it, but yes, they felt I could. Well, yes, they weren't going to pay it.
Wow.
This is another one of these things that just wait a minute, America. This is not called justice. It's called a democracy.
Yeah.
Okay, now, by the way, I think I threw something at you, and just as a passing, Jesus is mentioned in the Constitution, his name.
Yeah, absolutely. I have that highlighted as well.
Okay, let's go there. This is at the end of the Constitution. They're now going to say when it was ratified, and they're going to list the people who signed it, and they're going to date it. We signed it on so-and-so date, and I asked you to underline it so you can tell us what it says on the back of the Constitution.
Yep, absolutely. It says, let's see, done in a convention by the unanimous consent of the states present the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 1787.
That means it was 1787 years since the birth of Jesus. The calendar, people don't know, we're in the year 2015. We're in the year 2015 from the year zero. But there was a BC calendar. The Egyptians lived, I'm going to make this up, between 2400 BC, and of course the numbers are going down, so 2400 down to 1900, and then the Mayans took over from the 1500s down to 600 BC, and then the 500 BC, so this is all BC. But those things are going down, and then on the 1st of January, the year zero, we started going up again.
Yeah.
Now, Jesus was not born in the year zero, but that doesn't matter. The people, when they decided, the calendar decided that Jesus was. Well, he's not. You can prove it. In fact, we know he was born in the year 4 BC. But it doesn't matter. The year zero has been, and that's what our founding fathers just admitted. We count years by the birth of Jesus. 87 years since Jesus was born. They were admitting that Jesus was real.
Yeah.
So we're separating church and state? No, they're not. By the way, just as a matter of interest, every one of the 50 state constitutions declares a belief in a sovereign creator God. Every one of them.
Wow.
Is that called separation of church and state? No, it's not.
Wow.
The state of Arizona has the power to declare a religion if they want to do it. The Constitution gives them no power to interfere in that. The state of the 10th Amendment, although, well, we're going to come to that yet. But I'm telling you, now, let's just go to see what's next. That was just kind of an aside. That's pertinent, but not really. Okay, now let's read the 10th Amendment.
Yep. It says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Okay, now, let me ask you this. If they gave total power to Congress, the powers not delegated to the United States are reserved to the people. And I made up a little story last night, and I will use it again.
Yeah.
They just gave Congress total power. What's left over? And I used a little example to make it simple and clear to people. I said, Josh came to Tucson, and Josh and I are sitting out in the back there in my patio, and you said, boy, it's getting warmer out. You got something to give me, something to cool me off? I said, oh, boy, I got lemonade in. I just made it especially for us, and boy, it's got fresh lemons, and it's made with pure water and sugar, and boy, I tell you, it's delicious. And I got a picture. I'll bring it out because it's been in the refrigerator. I'll bring it out with 2 glasses. Now, here's only one condition I'm going to give you, Josh. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to pour out my glass first, and then whatever's left over belongs to you. Mm-hmm. And when I pour the lemonade in the glass, there's nothing left for Josh. Is that what our founding fathers just did?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Do words have meaning or not?
Absolutely. We're
not talking about applesauce here.
That's right.
I want you to know there's no such thing as a state's right. Mm-hmm. No. When the 10 or 11 states seceded from the Union, they claimed they're doing it for states' right. They didn't have the right to do this. There's no such thing as a state right.
Wow.
It's always in the hands of Congress. Okay, so Josh, I'm sorry, they got no lemonade for you in your state that doesn't have any rights. Okay, now, if the powers are separated, how does Barack Obama write law, amend law, exempt law, rewrite law, give exemptions to the law?
Right.
He doesn't have the legislative power to do that, does he?
Right.
That's called, in the second article, the Congress shall have the power to legislate. So only they have the power to write laws.
Wow.
But wait a minute. Congress knows that. Why are they not impeaching him?
Yeah, no kidding.
Why? Why aren't they doing it? Wait a minute. Supreme Court remember I talked about checks and balances? Yeah. So they're not going to give all power. They've given all power to Obama. He's making law, amending law, interpreting law, changing, exempting it. And I know there are certain classes of people in America that don't have to buy Obamacare. That's an exemption to the law. Mm-hmm. The law says everybody's got to have, no, everybody except, and I'm going to make exceptions. You come to me and say, I don't want to, and I'll make an exemption for you. That's not in the law. But the Congress is doing nothing about it. Neither is the Supreme Court. Let me give you one more example. By the way, we didn't discuss this, but if you go back to Article 2, when they talk about the president, he, not she, by the way, let's draw a conclusion. He means he. Yeah. It doesn't mean he or she, or it doesn't mean he and she. He means male.
Yeah.
She means female. I'm sorry. Now, if Hillary is elected, she can't be inaugurated.
Wow.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Why?
Says
Do
he.
words have meaning or not?
Yeah.
Why did they say he over and over again? Because only men at that time could run for office. Now, we've got an amendment process. There's never been a change to that. We ended with like 10 or 10, and now we've got 26 or 15 or 16 times we've amended the Constitution. Why doesn't Hillary get it amended? So he means he and she, he and or she, or he or she. This doesn't, the word he means he. It means he.
Hmm. Wow.
You see, don't pay attention. Now, there's a reason Hillary's not doing this, and we're going to cover that too.
Yeah.
there's an answer for everything. Just got to work on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
now, we talked about the 10th Amendment gives all powers are going to be given to Congress, but everything left over, Josh is in the eliminating class, that picture, and that's it. Now let's go to the 13th Amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Scroll down here. Got it. Article 13, Section 1.
By the way, notice you just said article, and we all call it amendments, but
Right.
they called it articles, and I don't know why they changed it. But we're talking, an article is an amendment.
Yeah, yeah.
We call it amendment, they called it article. But the 13th Amendment is what is, it's even if it's an article, we're going to read it, it's going to read the same way for them as it's going to read for us. Read the 13th Amendment.
Yep. Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any
Period.
place. Yep.
Okay, very good. And I went on to say our places under their jurisdiction.
Yep.
Okay, where's the United States, Josh?
Right, within that 10 miles.
That's right. Is it in Georgia or Arizona? No. Now let's talk about slavery. We fought a civil war over slavery. By the way, we didn't fight a war over slavery. Well, that was the issue, to get the brother to shoot brother. There were brothers on one side of the north and brothers on the south dividing each other because they had different views about slavery. Slavery was it wasn't the issue. And little Ralphie found out what the real issue was and wrote about it in 1985 in my first book, The Unseen Hand. I'll give you something to chew on. How did Russia save the North during the Civil War? I've never heard that. Where'd you get that from? I said, I read about it. I can prove it. Oh, argue that's not possible because my history books don't say that.
Right.
But I'm telling you, when you read The Unseen Hand, I'm going to document it and show you how Russia, the nation of Russia, saved the North. They saved the North during the Civil War. That should be something we should be talking about.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. Why? Well, that's part of the reason. Okay, but let's go back. We're going to abolish slavery. Where? In the United States. Only in the United States.
Mm.
Involuntary servitude, I believe, means contract. In other words, they can't force a person into a contract unless he wants to. It means contracts have to be mutually agreed to. Let's just make an example. You're going to sell me. I'm going to sell you my. I'm going to buy your Yugo that you bought. That Czechoslovakian car. It's very cheap. I'll give you $1.95 for it. You say, okay, Rob, I'll sell you that. You give me a bill of title. Now, if you later claim that I forced a gun on you, that's not a contract. It's null and void. The hell, the guy said, listen, I'm going to make you $1.95, even though it's worth at least $3.95. If you can prove in court that I forced you to do that because I don't have the right to force you to do that contract's not void. I mean, it's null and void. It has no standing anymore. The signature was, even though you signed the contract, doesn't mean diddly squat because I forced you. That's the only way out of a contract.
Right.
Okay, now, so that's involuntary servitude. I don't have the right to force you to be a slave under contract. Before I'm going to go to you and say, listen, I'm going to make you my slave, and I want you to sign this contract so that it's going to be legal and proper that we both sign this, and you're going to sign it even though I got a gun at your head.
Yeah.
That's called involuntary servitude. So basically, we don't have the right to force people to do things they don't want to do. Would you accept that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now let's read the 14th Amendment.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Before we do that, I just have a next question. Is voluntary servitude permitted?
Yeah, according to this. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's voluntary servitude? And I made up a little example, Josh. Let's just say that you're the master of a huge, big, what do they call it, the South, and you've got slaves. And I come and say, Josh, I really like the idea of slavery, boy. I'll tell you, you're going to take care of me, you're going to feed me, and you're going to give me a house to live in, and let me get married and raise my children, and I work for you. You tell me when to work, how fast I have to work, how much I got to work. But I like that. I will do it voluntarily. That's called voluntary servitude. It's a contract. But I do it voluntarily. Right. And it's legal. Part of freedom is you can become a slave if you want to be, but no one can force you to be a slave. That's what it means involuntary servitude. But voluntary servitude is permitted, and we're going to see how that worked in the 14th Amendment.
Okay.
All right. So, would you agree that voluntary servitude is not excluded or illegal or anything? It's voluntary. You can do it. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, let's go to the 14th Amendment. Let me ask you this. Okay, we're going to read the 14th Amendment. Find that and read 14th. Oh, by the way, first of all, when was it passed?
It says proposed 1866, ratified under duress 1868.
So 3 years later, after the war ended in 1865, they passed the 14th Amendment, and boy, this is the key to this whole thing.
Yeah.
The 14th Amendment. Okay, now start reading.
Section 1, all persons born...
Wait, stop, Josh. Wait, what did you just say? All persons? What are persons?
All persons, yeah.
Yeah, notice, Josh, in the Declaration, we declared ourselves to be people.
Right.
We, the people, have unalienable rights that no government can take away. And boy, that was a self-evident truth.
Yeah.
But now we're called persons. What's a person? When we declared that, we live by right. We don't need a privilege. If you live under the right, you could go to we should define the word right. Right is acting morally without permission. Privilege is you need permission to act morally. Let's just say this. Under the rights, you have the right to open a restaurant. Here in Tucson, you don't have the right to open a restaurant without a privilege. What's the privilege? It's a license.
Yeah.
It's granted to you, and as soon as you do that, if you open up a restaurant and don't have a license, you could get fined. Wait a minute. I've got the right, unalienable right. No, you don't. You've got to have a license. A license is a privilege granted to you by the city. And if you, for some reason, don't live up to it, or you keep the food at the wrong temperature, they can come in because that's part of the license is the right to inspect and make sure it's healthy, and also that it's every year you got to renew it, and during that process they check out to make sure you don't have any lawsuits and whatever it is. It's a license. That's a privilege. Persons live by privilege.
Yeah.
People live by right. Persons. Now, you want proof of that? I'm going to do this just from memory. The Roe versus Wade was passed in 1970. The decision of the Supreme Court was passed in 1973. Forgive me. Forgive me. At the moment I'm stuck. I think it was 73. Let's just use that date.
Sure.
Now, what is the Roe versus Wade decision? Let's go back. Before we do that, let's talk about the Hippocratic Oath. Every doctor in the world used to take a vow of the Hippocratic Oath when they legally could call themselves doctor, before they could legally call themselves doctor. And you can read it. It's on the internet. Read it. The Hippocratic Oath. Hippocrates was what they call the father of medicine. He wrote a pledge. It's basically saying, I promise to give them the best of care and to do everything within my power to heal them and make them well, and there's only one thing that they're not supposed to do, and that is not give them something to cause an abortion.
Wow.
Every doctor in the world until 1960, when they took that phrase out of the Hippocratic Oath.
Wow.
It's not in there anymore. Why? Because we're going to legalize abortion.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Babies under the people concept were granted rights from God as well. They were called babies when they were in the womb, and as soon as they're born, they become a member of the people. But they had rights as that. If a woman committed an abortion under the people concept, she was charged with murder.
Yeah.
Just like she was if she had the baby a year later and committed a murder.
Yep.
Well, she didn't want the baby a year later, but during the time it's growing, if she murdered it, she would be charged with murder, just like she would be if she did it a year later.
Yeah.
But now persons and the Roe v. Wade says that the fetus, they call it, no, they had to change the name. It was called an unborn baby. I remember women carrying when they were pregnant, rather obvious, they had a T-shirt on that had a big arrow pointed towards their belly. It says, baby inside. No, it's a fetus inside. Now, a fetus is like a fingernail. When a woman cuts her fingernail and cuts it on, throws it away, did she do that without violation of law? Yes, of course she did. It's her fingernail. Did she take these strange cells that are growing in her tummy and put them and throw them away? Yes, because it's her body.
Right.
5 years later, in the Laytrell issue, the same Supreme Court, with one change, made it not your body.
Wow.
Laytrell is a naturally occurring vitamin in 1,200 of our foods. And a man was using it to cure cancer because this vitamin kills cancer cells. And the Supreme Court found out about it. The lower court said you don't have the right to do this because you're prescribing medicine and you're not a doctor, so you do not have the right. And the Supreme Court upheld them. In other words, it is your body in abortion, but not in Laytrell. In other words, you have become a subject of the person. You are a person, and we're going to restrict your rights because they're not rights anymore. You live by privilege. We'll grant you the privilege to have an abortion, but not the privilege of eating Laytrell.
Wow.
You see what's happened? This confirms that persons are not people.
Yeah.
They don't live by right, they live by privilege. Now, they can amend it. They can decide, well, you can have an abortion up till 3 months until then, and then no, they said we'll do it from up to 6 months, and now it's up to, you can do it while the baby's being born.
Yeah.
In fact, even when the baby comes out alive, oh my God, this is really scary. The doctors will kill it.
Yeah.
Is that murder? Of course it is. But no, it's an abortion. I didn't quite know how to do this. The baby came out, it wasn't supposed to come out alive, but it did, and I'll make sure it dies, and it lays in a dish until it suffocates.
Wow.
This is where we are as a nation.
Yeah, it's sick.
So we, the people, have unalienable rights, but persons don't live by privilege. Now let's go back to the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
Now, I want you to know this. All persons... okay, now let's go back to the 14th Amendment. You started out with the 2 words. Now keep reading. Read the first 2 and then keep going.
Yep. All persons born or naturalized in the United States.
Stop. Where's the United States?
Those 10 miles.
10 miles, Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Okay, so start. All persons born or naturalized in Washington, D.C., right? Yep. Now let's take it step by step. What's a naturalized citizen? We talked about that, and I use the example of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everybody knows, at least they should know, he's an Austrian. He was born in Austria. He's probably the best one I can use as an example. Everybody knows Schwarzenegger. So Schwarzenegger says, I want to go to the United States. He didn't want to go to America. He wanted to go to the United States. So he decides, I want to go there. He gave up his Austrian citizenship and applied for a visa to come to the United States. I think it's called a visa. It's not a passport, it's a visa. You've got 5 years to live here, but you got to live a good, clean life, and don't shoot anybody, kill, and don't become a Terminator. And if you could do that, at the end of 5 years, you'll go through we'll put you through little classes, and then after that, you're all going to take an oath of allegiance to the United States.
Right.
How much power did Schwarzenegger give the Congress over him?
All of it.
Total power. Now, I'm going to guess, maybe, this is supposition, Schwarzenegger says, listen, baby, I'm leaving Austria because it's socialist. I want to go where they're free. And then he became a citizen of the United States. Is he free under the citizen of the United States?
Nope.
No? Congress has total power over, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know that he knows that.
Right.
I think he thinks he's just as free as you and I. He's not. Okay, now let's start. Let's do it over again. Start from the beginning. All persons.
Sure. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside.
Now, this is an interesting thing. I'm going to recall a thing that happened way back, probably 40 years ago, or maybe more. But anyway, it's strange how this little story stuck with me for 50 years. And it's inconsequential, but it's not. I live in Arizona, 50 miles, 60 miles from the border of Mexico. And when I was growing up, we could all go across the border. The Mexicans were happy to see us because we brought dollars to buy goods in Mexico. But when we stopped at the border, the man from Mexico would say, where are you going? We're going to Nogales, okay. Because he knew that if we got past Nogales on the highway, as soon as we get 10 miles out, there's a checkpoint. And now you got to have papers and reasons and motives. But as long as you brought money to Nogales, the border on the other side of the border, you're free to spend around, walk and buy and talk and do everything you want. So, but now coming back, 5 of us in the car. My father, my mother, my grandmother, my brother, and 5 of us. And so we're car number 3. We drove across the border, parked our car, got out, browsed, and did some shopping. Came back to the car. We're now in the car going back towards the state of Arizona. And so my mother says to my grandma, Mom, listen, Mom and Grandma had never been in Arizona before. She was visiting. So my mother had to warn her, Mom, when we get to the border, the man's going to ask you, where were you born? And you're going to say, Poland, and he's going to say, okay, do you have your papers? Mom, you don't have your papers. My mother was from Poland. She became a naturalized citizen way back 50 years before. So he said, my mother told my grandmother to lie. Now, I want you to know, my grandmother's gone, my mother's gone, my father is gone, so none of these people are going to be persecuted or charged. And I didn't say a thing, so I'm innocent, but they were. My mother asked my grandmother to lie, and she lied. She said New York. The question was, where were you born? And when they asked me, I was born in Arizona. I'm returning back to America, and when I came across the border, I'm going back to my home state of Arizona, part of the nation known as America. Where were you born? I said I was born in Arizona.
Yeah.
And my grandmother should have said Poland, but she didn't have her papers because she was born in Poland, but she's now. So anyway, that's the problem. Now when you go across the border, they ask you, where are you? They ask you, are you a citizen of the United States?
Wow.
Well, how did we do that?
Yeah.
You can't get back in the border if you say no. You got to have papers.
Wow.
Not any papers. Notice one more thing. This is interesting as well. Our state constitution in Arizona defines the state borders. And our southern borders define. It goes like this. You're starting in the southwest corner of the state of Arizona and California and Mexico, up the Colorado River, up to the Groves, and then at the 92nd latitude, and then up to the north until we get to the 32nd degree latitude, and then down the south, and then the border of Mexico. The border of Mexico is our defined border. When people cross the border, are they entering the United States?
No.
No. Where are they entering?
America.
America.
Wow.
They're coming into the state of Arizona. Now, armies are another matter. The Constitution gave them the power to raise an army. Why? To protect all of the states. If the people from Mexico have an army, they're coming north. They're going to try to go north to California and Arizona and New Mexico and everywhere else. So the federal government's going to try to protect all of us. But they're not an army. Well, you could argue they are because they're bringing drugs with them and who knows what else.
Yeah.
But notice this is not an army. When they cross the border, they're entering the state of Arizona, not the United States. Therefore, Congress has no authority over this. Arizona does. We should get together with California, New Mexico, and Texas and say, we're going to build the wall. Because these people are coming across, and the United States will not build the wall. And there's another reason for that as well. There's a reason they will not build a wall, and we're going to explain that. But I'm trying to get our state to do what it's supposed to do. It's constitutionally obligated to protect our southern border from invasion by people, not armies. If Mexico sent an army into Arizona, our government was supposed to respond. Under the Constitution, they've got the power. We're going to get to that. The Constitution says they got the power to raise an army. For what purpose? To protect the America and the United States as well.
Yeah.
So our state government sickens, but we're spending billions of dollars to take care of these Mexican illegals and others. Of course, others are coming across from Guaymas and not Guaymas, but Brazil and Venezuela and Nicaragua and everything else. So illegals are coming across the border, and the government will not build a wall. They want them to come across for a reason. We're going to. Please forgive me. I get emotional because I'm going broke.
Oh yeah, totally understandable. Yeah.
Okay. So now, let's see. We got through the 14th Amendment meaning of persons. Okay, now let's go. Okay. Oh yeah. By the way, this is interesting. We use the word freedom and liberty interchangeably, don't we?
Yeah.
One time we talk about, I want the liberty to do this, and I want the freedom to do this. Sometimes we call it freedom. Those words, that means they're synonyms, meaning they have the same definition, but they don't. They are antonyms having opposite definitions. Remember what I said. Words have meaning.
Yeah.
What is freedom? The freedom to act morally without asking permission. Now, when we decided, we got to go back now to the beginning of time. God said to us, I'm going to teach you morality. If you decide for yourself, you're going to make everything legal. Everything you want to do, your heart desires, you can do it, but you're not going to do it. I'm going to teach you to be moral. And Christians and Jews, because of the Bible, are moral people, basically. I mean, certainly there are Christians who claim to murder, but basically we're taught, don't murder, don't steal, don't do it. Wait a minute. What if I want the right to steal and murder? Now, I think I mentioned this to you, maybe not. I'll give you an example of the word liberty. Liberty is unrestrained freedom.
Oh, wow.
Now, our founding fathers wrote it into the Declaration of Independence, didn't they? We, the people of the United States, do hereby ordain and establish this Constitution to recognize the fact that we are the people, are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, amongst which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now let's take the pursuit of happiness. What does that mean? Okay, let me ask you this. If you're a cannibal, does it make you happy to find someone to kill so you can eat?
Right, yeah.
Is that what that means? Pursuit of happiness, a cannibal believes it's going to give him happiness if he can find someone to eat. Is that what it means? This is a disaster. What does this word mean? These words mean? Yeah. Remember what I said? The pursuit of happiness grants you the power to do whatever you really want to do.
Wow.
If it gives you happiness. I'll give you an example. Well, let's wait, but this interfere for a minute. Our founding fathers had these things called the Sons of Liberty. They talked about liberty. We had the Liberty Bell. Our Declaration granted us the unalienable God-given right to... God didn't give us the right to liberty, did he? He said, I'm going to teach you morality and don't do these things. Now, let me give you an example. If I say under the liberty, if we all have the liberty to do what gives us happiness, I get out of my house, I'm going to the grocery, I'm going to say I walk. Let's say I walk to my grocery store, and my neighbor says, boy, there's Epperson, he's got money in his pocket. It'll give me happiness to get his money. Right. He comes out, beats me on the head, and I get up. They say he gets half of it, and I say, well, I guess he's got the right to do this. He's the freedom, the liberty to do what he wants. It gives him happiness, pursuit of happiness. That's what it means. So I get up and I start walking again. The next guy does the same thing, and I don't even get to the grocery store.
Yeah.
The reason I can go to the grocery store is because the majority of the people between my house and the grocery store believe in the freedom. They act morally. Why? Because they were taught by God to act morally.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between liberty and freedom. And they're synonyms. I'm not saying antonyms. They're opposites. Liberty is defined as unrestricted freedom. And I'm saying freedom is restricted. by morality.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not. And if you do that, now notice, if my neighbors do not believe they have the right to kill, I'm free to go and I don't have to worry about getting killed. I talked to my barber a couple of days ago. He's afraid to go out at nighttime now.
Wow.
When I was a boy, my next door neighbor and I were the same age. We'd go play and run around and, go 2 miles away and come back in time. We were free to do. We didn't worry about getting killed.
Yeah.
But now here in Tucson, you don't go out at night anymore. Why? Because we're living under liberty. You're free to do whatever jolly well you want to. Now, let me throw this at you. Our young people in school are being taught this.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait a minute, Ralph. I've never heard this before. What are you going to say? It's called situation ethics. What does that mean? Each of you is free to decide for yourself what's right. Let me give you an example. Now, when I was in high school, we never learned about the birds and the bees. Now they're teaching them way back in kindergarten, birds and the bees, and telling you how to do it, and they're even giving you condoms, and you go out and the sex is beautiful, it gives you happiness. So who wants to restrict your happiness? Well, your dummy parents do in your church, but we're telling you don't have to do that. In fact, you can go out and I'll make you a little example. The football quarterback notices while he's playing football, the head cheerleader is really cute, and she's got a cute little figure, so he grabs her and takes her to the bushes and rapes her. He's given the freedom, the liberty to do what he's taught to be, sexual pleasure, the happiness is pleasure, and I'm going to grab this girl. And now, what happens next? The police, she goes and complains. This is the police. This guy raped me, and she's got witnesses, and they convince this guy, this little football quarterback, gets thrown in jail. He said, wait a minute, I was taught in school that I've got the pursuit of happiness, which means I was enjoying sex, and it's pleasant, and it gives me pleasure, and I'm okay, because it's granted to me as long as we're right, and now you're throwing me in jail. Another branch of government's throwing me in jail, but one branch of government said it's okay. And now we wonder why young people are committing suicide.
Yeah, no kidding.
It doesn't make sense. He's taught in the government schools, do what thou wilt.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's going to say, don't do what thou wilt. It doesn't make sense.
Wow.
Another thing, he decides it's going to give him happiness to take drugs, and what do? We throw him in jail.
Yep.
He's taught by the government, drugs are not going to harm you, and do what thou wilt. If you want to take drugs, go do it. It's your body. You're free to do whatever you want with your body. So, and especially since we're animals, descendants of animals, where they do what they want to. They don't have any morality. Do you see how this all fits together with what's happening in America?
Oh, yeah.
What I'm talking to you about in an hour and a half or so starts to make sense.
Yeah.
So now, I'm going to refer you to a little book that you can read with your own eyes. You can buy it. It's about the size of a wallet. And it's about 20 pages or so. And it's written by Aleister Crowley. Now, that's what I pronounce it. Aleister Crowley wrote this book. It's called The Book of the Law. And on page 9, when you open it up, there's a little explanation first. And it says, do what thou wilt will be the whole of the law.
Yep.
Wait, what does that mean? Does that mean liberty or freedom?
Yeah. That's unrestricted. That's liberty.
You're right. If you want to do it, do it.
Yep.
Now, I like to make a little example to show you how stupid this is.
Yeah.
Ernest Hemingway was a well-known author. He probably died in the 50s or 60s, but he wrote a lot of books and made movies out of them. So Ernest Hemingway wrote, I know what is moral is what I feel good after, and what is immoral is what I feel bad after. Now, let's just say he believes that. So, boy, I'm going to do what I want to, whatever I want to. So he believes that. And by little example, the guy I made up a religion called the Squashers. And the Squashers teach their young people, their members, listen, you're free to do whatever, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. So if you want to rape, go ahead and rape. And we're teaching you the greatest pursuit of happiness is once a day to kill somebody. And I'm telling you, once you do, you're going to really be happy. So he walks up to Hemingway and says, Hemingway, I know that you agree with me that doing what gives us pleasure is good, and what is bad is when you don't like it. So I'm telling you, I belong to the Squashers religion, and we teach that every day killing somebody gives us happiness. So I've chosen you for today's victim. Hemingway would say, of course, fire and fall back, wouldn't he?
Right.
Is that what he believes? Yes. I don't think he's going to say that.
Yeah, me either.
What's he going to say? Are you insane? I'm going to take the gun away from you and beat you to death with it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You just said, do what thou wilt, whatever gives you happiness, whatever. If it gives this guy pleasure and it's moral and feels good after it, he's free to do that. You're the one that said it. And now you're saying, no, it's not. I have that right, but you don't. Yeah. You see how stupid this is?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, Aleister Crowley would fight the guy as well.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. Let me finish with this. On page 20-something, I think it is, Crowley says, I didn't write this. Someone else did. And he says he channeled it, means he was told to write this by something or someone else. And he tells us who it was. He said, I, meaning the guy that's telling you to write this, is the secret serpent.
Wow.
What does that mean? Who's the serpent? In the Bible, it's Satan.
Yeah.
Does Satan want us to be free to do what we want to? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a whole other story. We get into that. It takes a little while. But notice what I'm trying to say. We'd better make sure that we have freedoms and not liberties.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah, now we're going to get into the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It was on page 32. I'm sorry, I misstated it. He said, I am the secret serpent. Okay. Now, we went through the 13th Amendment. I've got these out of order because we're doing it in different order now. Okay.
I don't know if you were saving this for later or not. When we were talking about the contract thing, we didn't get into the Social Security card or taxes yet.
Oh, yes, that's where we're going. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Yep, excellent.
Let's just review what we said.
Yes.
The 13th Amendment permits voluntary servitude. Would you agree to that? We read that.
Yes.
Okay, now we got the 14th Amendment says that you can become a person, and if you're a person, you live by privilege, and we can grant you the privilege not to do this or do that. We're going to call you a citizen of the United States. There's only two ways to become a citizen of the United States. Now, let me tell you this. When I go to Tombstone, which is about 80 miles away, it's the Old West, K. Corral and Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday and the Clans and everybody else. And as you drive back, there's a border, there's a stop. The highway's 60 miles an hour, so it says reduce your speed to 50 to 40, 30, 20, 5 miles an hour, and then you enter, and there's a guy there standing there with the green uniform on from the Immigration Department or some of these things, and he asks you, are you a citizen of the United States? Now, I'm not a citizen of the United States because I was not born. In fact, I have a birth certificate saying it was called a certificate of registration or birth or something. It's not even a birth certificate. But I've got one registered with the county. It was signed by the doctor, by the nurse in the hospital, my mother and father, and it's been registered and duly noticed by the county. And if I ever say, where were you born? I say, go to the county, you can find out. I was born in Arizona. So I always laugh and say, I'm born in Arizona. He lets me go through. But he could very well challenge me. You were not born in the United States? And I say, no. The United States is only Washington, D.C. And I say, wait a minute. There's only two ways to become a citizen of the United States, and that's either be born or naturalized. So if you've got some contract that I signed that says I went through the process known as naturalization, and I can certify that it was my signature, then I will agree that I'm a citizen. Therefore, I'll answer I'm a citizen of the United States. But I'm not. Oh, yes, I am. I'm going to tell you how I became, and I hate to say it, Josh, you and many of your listeners, you have a socialistic, by the way, call it what it is, Socialist Security Administration.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. It's a guarantee of the government to take care of you like socialists take care of you. So now, how did I become a citizen of the United States? Let me tell you how I did it. I was a senior in high school, and we had a class called civics. And one day our teacher says, I've invited a lady from the Social Security. She didn't call it that. Mistakenly, she didn't call it that. She called it the social. She didn't know, but she called it the Social Security Administration. And she's going to talk to us for, half an hour. And she said, this is a paraphrase going back 50 years or so. She says, listen, kids, you're all going to graduate here in a few more months. And when you do, you're going to go out for your first job. And when you do, your boss is going to say, what's your Social Security number? You say, well, I don't have one of those. He said, well, okay, that's fine. You can come into the office and we'll give you a number. And then when you give that to the man, he'll hire you and you can start working. And Now then, so I walked. She said, "Okay, you can come down again." So I walked in. So I want one of those cards, and so I signed a contract voluntarily. And then I walked out with my number. And then I went to the boss and I said, "Here's my number." And he said, "Okay, good, I can hire you now." And he gave me a job, and I'm making it 12 cents an hour. I'm not worth very much. So I'm working away. And suddenly I get my paycheck for $4, and it's how much I earned, number of hours times whatever payment. Say $40, and my check's only for $25. Now, what's this extra $15? Where'd that go? What's called taxes? I didn't agree to. Yes, you did. You probably didn't see, but down in the later parts of the contract you signed, once you sign up for Social Security, you got to pay taxes. Now, getting a Social Security card is voluntary.
Wow.
Now, what does that mean? It's voluntary servitude. There is no law. And in my DVD, you can see the 2 letters that I have in my file, signed by members and officials of the Social Security Administration, admitting it's voluntary.
Wow.
You don't have to do it. But why did we do it? Well, the lady didn't say she didn't tell us about the law, because there is no law. Under the 13th Amendment, they can't force you into a contract. Did we say that?
Right.
That's called involuntary servitude. They can't force us to sign into this, so they lie to us. We bought some more great guns and gunpowder.
Yeah.
The grain.
Yeah.
So no, she didn't tell us about the law, because there is no law. And I got 2 letters, and I showed them in my DVD. They both admit it's voluntary. They have no requirement to do it because of the 13th Amendment. It's protecting us.
Wow.
Anyway, when you walk in, you become a naturalized citizen. Why? It's voluntary. And they can only give those benefits to citizens of the United States.
Huh.
So when you signed your contract, they gave you, they started taxing you to pay for it. You pay half and your employer pays half, and that money is set aside for you when you retire. So they can only do that if you're a citizen. They don't have any power to do that to state, to people in Arizona. But we signed the contract. Now, let's say we find out it's voluntary. I'm going to stop paying. Well, you stop paying, then you go to the judge. And the judge says, "We got a contract that says you're going to pay." I know, but I didn't have to. But nonetheless, you signed it voluntary. No one forced you. And no, I didn't. No one forced me. I signed it. Well, that means it's a contract. And the contracts are binding, and therefore you got to keep paying.
Right.
Now, there are people. I want to make this about one more thought. There is no law requiring us to pay income taxes. Once again, it's voluntary. Go to your 1040 form. Who must pay the tax? Citizens of the United States. And there's only 2 ways to become a citizen of the United States under the 14th Amendment. You're either born there or naturalized there. Well, if you're neither, you're not a citizen of the United States.
Wow.
You see what's happened?
Yeah.
Let me give you some proof of this. It's voluntary. I was lecturing. Well, I use that word. I was giving a speech at a seminar, and during the break, after I just told them what I just told you, a young couple came up, and I'm just late 20s. "Hi, Ralph. I want to give you a confirmation of what you just said. What's that about Social Security?" So, yeah, go ahead. He said, "Listen, my wife and I had a baby at so-and-so." He named the hospital. I don't know where it is. It's a different town. I'll say St. Joseph's Hospital. We had a baby at St. Joseph's, and so the doctor said, "Come back tomorrow, because we have a test to run, or we didn't get the test results back, but we'll have back tomorrow. And if the baby's okay to go, it's healthy, we'll give you the baby, and you can walk out your door with your baby." So they went there at noon as they were required, and they said, "We're the Jones family, and we're here to pick up little Mary Jones." And the nurse says, "Our records show that you do not have a Social Security number signed to little Mary Jones." "Well, that's right, we don't have one." "Well, we cannot release the baby without one." And they knew it was voluntary. So he said, "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time to release the baby." He said, "Well, we can't do that. We have," said, "Please get your administrator down here, the one in charge of the hospital." So a little while later, the guy walks in. Now, this guy's not a doctor. Probably in most cases, he's a businessman. He's got a white shirt and tie on. So he walks in and says, "Hey, yes, what's the problem here?" She said, "Well, they won't release the baby." "Well, that's our policy. We don't allow babies to leave without a Social Security number." The guy says to him, Mr. Administrator, I'm going to give you one more time to answer the question to release our baby. If you decide not to release the baby, I'm going to call the police and charge you with kidnapping. Is it called kidnapping?
Yeah.
Isn't it? The baby without permission.
Right.
You gave them the permission to find out the baby was healthy and to take care of it while it's in there, but not to beat it on Thursdays or Fridays or twice as much or whatever. They've got to obligate, they're obligated to treat it normally and rationally and properly to bring it to be a healthy baby. And of course, I believe, this is a guess, that administrator knew it was voluntary.
Yeah.
And he did it anyway. He's an accessory to a crime, isn't he?
Yeah.
Forcing you to sign a contract without your permission.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
So that's scary.
Yeah.
So there is the 14th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, I think I just found the letters. Hold on, in my notebook here. Let me see if I can find them.
Sure.
Well, they should be right here. Here it is. I have to admit, this is written in 79, but it doesn't matter. The law is still the same. This is written by the district manager of the Social Security Administration. The Social Security Administration does not require that you have a Social Security number. Huh? Wait, does not require? Oh, yes, we thought it did. It was called a law. No, there's no law. We don't require that. The other letter says, listen to this. I'm reading with one hand because I got the telephone between my ear. Okay, here now I got two hands. Here's the second letter. Your Social Security is a voluntary system in that no one is required to get a number. Wait a minute. We don't know that, do we?
Right.
We don't have to get, by the way, there's no draft either.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes, we got to go when they draft us. Babe, I got a letter in the mail. Now, let me give you proof of that. During Vietnam, there was numbers. When you got your, I forgot how it worked because they got birthdays, and they put all the birthdays in there and drew them out in sequence. And if they decided to, there'd be 365 birthdays, and they had them all in a big drum, and they pull out May the 1st. If you're May the 1st, you're number one, and if you're the 7th of September, you're number two. And they went to like 50. They're going to draft the first 50 numbers. The rest of them are not. So this father the son got one of his draft. He was number 7. Let's say he was told to come from Benson, Arizona to Tucson. And he said, he asked my friend Carl, what do I do? What do I tell my son? He said, tell your son to do this. Tell your son to do everything they've asked him to do. If they say 8 o'clock, don't get there at 8:10. Get there at 8 o'clock. Drive all the way in from Benson to Tucson. Make sure you park the car and safe. And you go in and walk in the door, identify yourself, show your ID, and you're there with the letter. And then they're going to ask you some questions about your last past and your age and then they're going to give you a physical and maybe some tests. And then after all the people that are physically and mentally able to go, all are going to go into one big room, and the guy in charge is going to come out and say, ladies, gentlemen, of course, this was during the I don't think the women were drafted. But anyway, we want to thank you for coming in. All of you have been certified by our doctors and our administrators that you're now going to be processed into the Army of the United States. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to take one step forward, and when you do, we're all going to take the loyalty oath of allegiance to the government of the United States. Now, tell your son, as soon as he says that, wherever he is, to shout out as loud as he can. What rights am I giving up by taking the step forward? Tell him not to move. He can breathe, but don't move. Everyone else took the step forward. Why? Because that's the act of voluntary.
Wow.
Voluntary. Now, I just watched a movie about the Alamo. Those people were down there protecting the state of Texas, and the guy in charge said, "Listen, I want to." They were waiting. They were assigned the duty of delaying Santa Ana from coming north, so that Houston could raise an army behind them in Texas to come to the rescue to fight, and then together they would defeat Santa Ana. So they got word that the men that Houston was recruiting or getting to fight voluntarily, they were massacred, and some only a few of them survived. So we are the only ones left. Houston's going to try again, but we've got to delay as much as possible. Now, I want to warn you, gentlemen. He was saying, in essence, there is no chance for survival. Now, that means you people have a decision to make. I cannot order you to stay. So he took his sword and drew a line in the sand in front of him, and then stepped back and said, if you want to stay, step over the line. Everyone did except one man in the movie. Now, it might be there was 110, I don't know, but in the movie they did it for a reason. Little Juan says, I can't do this, Colonel. I simply can't do this. I got a wife and children. My mother's dying of cancer or whatever it is, and I've got a farm, and I can't go. Juan will give you a horse and food, and you can take the horse and you're free to go. Not one of these others who stay will ever hold you responsible or accuse you of cowardice. You're free to go. Thank you for showing up, at least up until today. So the guy got on his horse and left. But everyone else had volunteered.
Wow.
Voluntarily, because of the 13th Amendment. In the movie, I think it's with Lee Marvin as the guy, he gets 12 prisoners. And they got a secret assignment, but he says if you can survive this assignment, we will throw away your prison sentence and you're free. So if you stay and survive, you're free. You'll never have to go back to jail or prison. So now, you got a decision to make. If you want to stay, take a step forward. If you decide not to go, then we're going to move you back to prison. Everybody took a step forward. Why? That's a show of volunteering. Okay?
Yeah.
13th Amendment.
Wow.
Isn't this called powerful?
Yeah.
Now, how can I get more information about this, Epperson? I've got to wait for you to do so. I would urge you to, there's one more thing, and I asked you about this, and we've now reached our 2-hour limit. Do you want to take the last bite of this thing or not?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're not, I don't have any limit on time or anything, so I'm totally fine, and I definitely want to get into the 1938 stuff, too.
Okay. Now, let's go back to Obama.
Yeah.
Obama knows that, and the Supreme Court knows that, and the Congress knows that the Constitution is null and void. Wait. That's not true, Ralph. Oh, yeah? Let me give you evidence that is true. Notice Obama is violating the Constitution by making law, amending law, changing law, whatever it is. He has no power to do that under the Constitution. But if there's no Constitution, he does have the power, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yep. Now, that's why the Congress and the Supreme Court are doing nothing. The Supreme Court, before Obama, after he announced his presidency, he was going to run for the presidency back 7 or 8 years ago, people had already started the process of challenging that under the Constitution. Article 2 says you have to be natural born, which means you got to be born in the United States, or at least in America. Yeah. And Obama was born in Kenya, not Hawaii. How do we know that? Because his wife, Michelle, is giving a speech. Please go on the internet and find it and watch it yourself. She says this, and I wrote it down and memorized it. She says, during a speech in front of an audience, she's like on a high school auditorium. There's a big curtain behind her. She's talking with a microphone. And she says, when Brock and I went to Africa, we visited his home country of Kenya.
Wow.
That's the home country. That's where you were born.
Mm-hmm.
Schwarzenegger's home country is Austria, not America. My home country is America. I was born in America. If you're born in Michigan, your home country. The people that are born in Denmark or Danes, they're born in their home country is Denmark. Now, if they move to Spain, their home country doesn't change. It's still Denmark.
Yeah.
That means that Obama is not eligible to be the president, and they could have resolved this issue very simply before he even ran for office.
Yeah.
And they've not done it. There have been 16 people going to the Supreme Court to get them to answer this, but they won't do it. Why? Because they know, like Obama knows, and the Congress knows, the Constitution is null and void. I don't believe that, Ralph. You better prove it. I'm going to prove it. Let me tell you about Howard Freeman. Howard Freeman, now I have to admit, this is the second, well, it happened to me. I'm going to tell you a story that he taught me personally and with others back 10 years ago. And it'll take a couple of minutes, but this will answer the whole question. Howard Freeman was a great constitutional expert. I met him on what I call the hustings, which is outgoing giving speeches. And they put together a seminar, 5 different speakers, and we'd all show up on Friday, and then usually have lunch together. And then that night we'd get together and talk. And then the next Saturday we start lecturing, and he would lecture from 9 to 11 or 10, and I'd come in at 11 to 12, and then the next guy. And then that night we'd probably get together again, and then Sunday we leave. So I met Freeman outside this probably 2 or 3 times. We never became friends, but we're acquaintances. Hi there, Ralph. How are you? What you been up to? So Howard Freeman comes to Tucson. A friend of mine who was bringing him says, Ralph, come on over. Howard's agreed Friday night before he speaks tomorrow morning. He's agreed to talk to us, sitting around in the chair. So 6 of us sat there talking to Howard Freeman. So Freeman said, I got 2 stories to tell you. Freeman, in my humble opinion, was this nation's greatest constitutional expert. Now that's certainly not, I could certainly say that's not true, but I really believe he knew this thing backwards and forwards. So he's telling us 2 stories, one after the other. Number 1, he said that one day a friend of his called him and said, listen, Howard, he said a young man friend of his. So anyway, young man, and Freeman's in his 60s. He said, Mr. Freeman, I want you to help me. Why? Because I was paying taxes, but I stopped when I found it was voluntary. I didn't have to, and I don't have to pay taxes, but they charged me with failure to file. I need you to be my witness to show the judge and the jury that there is no law. So the prosecutor laid out, they brought the IRS agent out. Yes, Roy, I work for the IRS. Okay, what do you know about this guy? Well, his name is Bill Smith. And Bill Smith, I got the tax forms here. He paid from, I'm going to make these dates up. He paid from the year 1990 to 1998, and then he stopped paying. We have no taxes from him in 1999 and the year 2000. Well, we know he worked because we got the records from his employer, but he didn't pay taxes. Therefore, he's not filed anymore. Well, how do you beat that? Either you filed or you didn't. And they just certified you didn't file. So the young man gets a chance to defend his position. So he gets Howard up there. He said, Howard, who are you? Well, I'm Howard Freeman. What do you know about the guy? Well, I've studied for 47 years. I'm an expert witness in 12 different cases, and I'm here on the 13th or whatever it is to testify again. Well, what do you know about it? Do I have to pay taxes? And Howard listed at least 8 different specific citations of the Supreme Court ruling that you don't have to pay income taxes. They're voluntary.
Wow.
And so after he got through, he sat down and he went to the young man. Howard told us, he said, I told you, young man, you're going to win. You see, that's a federal judge. And the federal judge has taken an oath and is in office because he's agreed to support the Constitution and Supreme Court decisions. And I just cited him by name. Howard had them memorized.
Wow.
So now you're going to win. So the judge says, okay, that the young man was through. He presented his case. The judge now is going to let the jury go in and deliberate, decide whether did he stop filing or not. So he says to the jury, you're going to go in there, listen, you've heard all the evidence now on both sides, and I'm going to ask you to go now into the jury room, and you can deliberate, and then when you get the jury verdict, then you're to call the bailiff, and he'll come in and get the paper, he sign it, and then bring it in and give it to me, and then we'll find if he's guilty or not. But he says, there's one thing, you are to completely disregard the testimony of Howard Freeman. What? Wait a minute. He cited standing Supreme Court decisions, memorized, and he'd been talking about these for 12, 15 years. He knew them by heart. The judge, he said, throw those out. Freeman said, no, Freeman was not allowed. This is about as angry as he got. He never got it. He can't do that. You and I would say, Judge, you can't do that. Freeman said, he can't do that. So he raced around back and caught the judge coming out of the court, going across the hall to his office. And he had just unlocked the door. So Freeman says, Your Honor, yes, Mr. Freeman. You took an oath. You're a federal judge. Yes, sir, I am. He said, you took an oath as a federal judge to support the Constitution. Yes, that means you've got to support Supreme Court decisions. That's correct, I do. He said, well, I gave you standing Supreme Court decisions. How can you decide they're not valid? He said, because all of those decisions were prior to 1938. Freeman says, what happened in 38 to eliminate standing Supreme Court decisions? According to Howard, and I want you to know, I knew this guy not very well, but I knew this guy and what people were saying about him. This man was incapable of lying. So I'm telling you, I believe this thing happened exactly as reporting.
Yeah.
It might have missed a couple of details, as you know, it might have been 10 years before. Anyway, so now, he says, what changed? He says, the judge said, I've told you too much. And he walked inside, shut the door, and then locked it from the inside, which means conversation's over.
Yeah.
Now, Freeman said, here's the second story. He said, he gave us probably the date, and I'm just going to say it was shortly thereafter. That's a loose word. Who knows, shortly could mean, whatever it was. A short time later, he got a phone call. He lives in the state of Wyoming. And he got a call. Hi there, Mr. Freeman. My name is Bill Smith. I'm a retired state Supreme Court justice. Every state has a Supreme Court to determine whether the laws passed by the state legislature are constitutional. So he's at the very top. He's only one step away from the federal Supreme Court. But he said, I want to talk to you, Mr. Freeman. Please come over to my house. He gave me the address. So Freeman, and I'm judging from what little I know about this guy, he's probably shaking in his boots. I'm going to meet a retired state Supreme Court justice who wants me to come meet him. He's probably shaking.
Yeah.
Little Howard. He's like, you know who Bob Newhart is, that comic?
Yeah.
He's kind of like that. Just a nice guy in the corner. He'd walk past you, you wouldn't even notice him. You know, he's that kind of thing in life. So anyway, Freeman went there, said, hi there, I'm going to ring the doorbell. Hi there. Come on in, Mr. Freeman. Yes, sir. I was good to see you. Thank you very much. He said, Mr. Freeman, I've been watching you for years. I want you to know something. I commend you for your knowledge, and you are right. But you need to know what I know. And there's only one condition. Mr. Freeman, now listen to this. He said, Mr. Freeman, I'm going to ask you to never reveal my name. Because if you do, I could get into trouble.
Wow.
What? A state Supreme Court justice can get into trouble? Yes. How? Well, I'll tell you what in a minute. We'll tell you how. Okay, now, so Freeman says, I promise you, your name is Bud. I will, that's my way. I'm not going you can rest assured I will never mention him. And he did mention his name in Tucson when he was talking to us. It was just a story. So we said, okay, fine. So the judge said, listen to me, before I was a state Supreme Court justice, I was a federal judge. Now, every federal judge is appointed by the president, subject to confirmation by the Senate. That's the way they have a check and balance. If the judge is a crook and the judge is wanting to be elected, the Senate can stop it. And once in a while, they turn down justices or Supreme Court justices or regular federal court judges. They don't like him. If he's a Democrat and they're Republicans, they'll stop him, that kind of thing. Yeah. So he said, we were called to Washington, D.C. in 1938. And he says, I remember that date someplace. Where did I hear that? From the judge in the case before. So he said, what's the story? He said, we all went to Washington, D.C. Now, there's probably maybe just several hundred, I don't know how many federal judges, but there's not too many. So if there's 50 states and there's 5 on average, that's 250. So they all went, they were probably, anyway. So they went to, and Roosevelt walked out and says, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you. This is, of course, condensed. I want to thank you for coming. You're all good, loyal, and you guys enjoyed the Washington, D.C., whatever. But I want to tell you something that you need to know. He said, you might remember that in 1933, I called in all the gold. Now, what does that mean? We had gold certificates. When you had gold as money, you took it to a bank, and they gave you a gold certificate for your money.
Okay.
It was a piece of paper printed, and on it says, this is to certify, and I'll make it up, say a $20 gold certificate. This is to certify that there's $20 in gold stored in the bank, which will be payable to the bearer on demand, period.
Yeah.
It doesn't say on demand, comma, unless the president decides to do it. This is a contract.
Right.
You can't violate the spirit when you're the president. And he got America to turn in over 95% of the gold.
Wow.
So people walked in and said, okay, here's my gold certificate. I mean, my gold, I've got the gold, and turn it in. And so you got this to get out of this crash. Notice Roosevelt didn't do what Harding did either, did he?
Right.
It took them 9 years to get out of the 39. It's actually 10 years to get out of the 29 crash. So that ended it. And Roosevelt went on to say, the international bankers who own our national debt, which means the Federal Reserve's not been loaning the money. International banks, probably of London and France and who knows where, other countries, have been loaning us money paying off the national debt, or borrowing money, so the government can pay their bills. He said when they noticed that we did this was 5 years later, they declared the United States to be bankrupt. Only bankrupt nations declare their gold standards, or their gold is no longer money. And we own a lot of gold certificates. So we're declaring you bankrupt. And when we do that, we become the creditor, or the debtor, and you are the creditor, and you become the debtor. And that means we're in charge. And we're going to eliminate the Constitution. So the Supreme Court was told, take the Erie Railroad versus Tompkins case, and in my DVD, I show you how anyone can find it. Because Freeman went to the law library and said something happened in 1938, and he flipped law case after case after case after, and he found the Erie Railroad case heard by the Supreme Court in 1938, and he read where the Constitution was null and void.
Wow.
Now, in my own DVD, I tell anyone who can read the English language where to find this case and how to look for it, what it's going to say, because I've read it. It's real. Now, Freeman might have been joking. No, it's not. He's not joking. There it is. Now, there's one more condition that Roosevelt told the judges. He said, there is only one obligation on your part. You are to take silent judicial notice of that fact. Now, what does that mean? Epperson dictionary says silent judicial notice means you can't tell the dummies.
Right.
You got to make it sound like it came from the Constitution, and you can argue it and find it, but you're adjudicating under the Uniform Commercial Code, which is the law of the land.
Wow.
Obama knows this. The Supreme Court knows this. That's the reason the Supreme Court will not determine whether Obama was natural born. And they've got the obligation of the Constitution to do that. Well, the Constitution is null and void.
Wow.
And that's why the Congress knows that they're not going to impeach Obama for doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Yes, it makes sense. You come up with an answer. Remember one more thought. What did Quigley say? Both parties are controlled by the same people, which means George Bush the Jr. and Obama are partners, and with Bill Clinton, and with Harry Truman, and with Lyndon Johnson, and with Richard Nixon. They're all partners. They all work for the same guy.
Wow.
Do you see where? Notice this. This is stuff that's in there. It's there. I didn't make any of this up. I probably embellished it with some fun, trying to make sure you kind of absorbed it. But this is provable. It's in my DVD. I show you the evidence step by step.
Yeah.
There's one last case, if I may. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this will be the last one.
Sure.
Okay. Erie Railroad case on the first page says there is no general common law in the United States. What does that mean? The common law was the Constitution.
Oh, wow.
What's the common law? That's God's law. Notice, we cannot give government a right we don't have ourselves.
Wow.
You have the right to private property, and I have the right. We have the right to protect our right to private property. It's called the right to self-defense, and also our person. So if we can hire a bodyguard called government. You and I can do that, because we both have the right. And we can ask that guy to protect us. And he's big and strong, and he's got a gun. And whatever else he needs, he's been trained. We'll train him to say, here's what you do to protect us. Now, if you and I have their right, and our neighbors have their right, then all of us in Tucson can get together and create a thing called government to protect all of our rights to life. Life, not liberty, life, freedom, and property. Now, in other words, we cannot give government the right to steal, because you and I don't have that right.
Right.
God said, thou shalt not steal. Therefore, we can't give government the right to steal. Now, I gave you an example. The people who vote on my bond issues are stealing from me. I vote no. And if they say yes and it carries, then I got to pay the taxes. And if I decide not to pay the taxes, guess who goes to jail? Little Ralphie Epperson.
Wow.
That's called stealing. Where did government get the right? It didn't get it. It took it.
Wow.
Do you understand? This is where we are. This nation is legalizing plunder. Plunder is defined as taking property without permission, like the word stealing is. Congress shall, God said that one of the commandments in both the New and the Old Testament, thou shalt not steal. Oh, no, no. Thou shalt not steal unless your neighbor has more wealth than you. That's what God meant. No, he didn't. Thou shalt not murder unless it's a baby, and then you can kill it before it's born. That's not what God said. That's the common law.
Yeah.
We cannot give government the right to kill an unborn child because that child has unalienable rights like you and I have. Well, we don't have unalienable rights. We're now persons under the government under the 14th Amendment, which means we live by privilege. Whether you like it or not, we're living by privilege. The government can force us into any contract they jolly well want.
Wow.
And that's why we have a draft. When we have a draft, you're obligated, no, you're not obligated to go. This young man, he stood there for 20 minutes. Everyone else was told after they took the oath of office to leave and go out the door. They're going to be issued, given permits to go home and then come back, and they're supposed to go to Camp Lejeune by Thursday, and they all go to the Camp Lejeune. They were sworn in, and therefore now they're under the government and they're under the soldiers. But this one guy stood. 20 minutes later, the guy in charge, the officer listed by where it was, who gave the oath, walked in and said, "Here's your bus ride home, a fee for your trip to Tucson and your ride back home, gasoline charges. Thanks for coming in." And he walked out the door.
Wow.
That means even the guy giving the oath knows it's voluntary, and the stepping forward is your way to volunteer.
Wow.
Did they explain that? No, but you take the step.
Yeah.
We asked you to do it, and you did it. So you're agreeing to the terms of the draft. But there's no power to draft you. Notice when we read the powers of Congress, there's nothing about draft. They have the power to raise an army, but it didn't say you have the right to draft anybody.
Yeah.
But they're drafting people. Why? They're forcing you into a contract under the 13th Amendment. They don't have that right. Yes, they do, because there's no Constitution.
Wow.
Are we talking about freedom anymore? No, we're talking about liberty.
Yeah.
What are these young people? I'll end with this. These young people in these campuses are saying, we want free education and we want you to eliminate the debt. Of course, who's going to pay for it? I don't know, but I don't want to pay for it. Government should be going to university should be free. I don't have to pay for this. Well, who does? Well, I don't know, but whoever, it's not me anymore. I don't want to pay that debt. I signed a contract for about, God, when I went to, I'll end with this. When I went to the University of Arizona back in the 50s, I used to have a check in my pocket from my mother. And she said, okay, go to India. You know how much on it. You know, I was limited. Of course, I couldn't write it for $4,000 and take the difference. So I went there and I signed up for so many classes, and the tuition for those 6 classes was $200. I wrote a check for $200 and I left it. So I was able to go to college for $200 for a semester. And next semester was $200, so it's $400 a year. Now to go to the same university is $8,000 a year. What? What's gone up?
Yeah.
Why is it so expensive? Well, gee, isn't that interesting? We can loan you the money to go to college. Well, that means after I graduate, I got to pay it back? Of course you do. It's a contract. No, these young people are demanding that we, the taxpayers, pay for it. Since I signed a contract, but I don't want to pay it, therefore you got to pay it. Oh, I see. I tried to warn you not to sign the contract. You don't want to go to college, but you went because you wanted to go, and now you go. You signed a contract. You signed it. It's your name. You signed it. You volunteered to do it. No one forced you to do it, but you want to go to college. So you pay it. No, I don't want to pay it. Is that called stealing when I have to pay it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's enough.
Wow.
Why are we laughing? Do you understand? We're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Big trouble.
It's mind-blowing stuff, and especially considering, I mean, if we're being honest to the people that's listening, how many of us have ever really sat down and read these documents? I mean, we study little bits and pieces of it in school. Like I went to a public school, which is why I'm homeschooling my kids. But we learn little bits and pieces of it. But I've never sat down and just like read the Constitution I've never done that. And most people haven't. But and even to the few that have, understanding it this way is completely different than what we're taught. But it's more accurate. What you're saying. And
let me ask.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That was it. I was done.
Okay, let me ask you to do this as a last favor.
Yeah.
From now on, call them government schools.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because this is what the government wants you to learn. Now, you would have asked this young lady who General Ulysses Grant was. She has no idea.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know where Cuba is. Schwarzenegger came from Austria. I don't know where that is, but I can tell you that I don't want to pay this college tuition. So these people are not being taught anything.
Yeah.
And they're paying $30,000. I'll give you one sentence. I was watching a TV show. A lady stood up and said, her friend and lawyer, this was probably 4 or 5 years ago, it cost her $300,000 to get a law degree from college.
Wow.
How is she going to pay that back?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Okay, Josh, wasn't that fun?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
see, the truth shall set you free.
Amen.
Notice the word is, the truth shall give you liberty. No, it does. The truth shall give you freedom.
Amen. Yeah, and it's vital information. Usually with information like this, I say every Christian should know, but this is every American should know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean it's that important. So I got to ask, in your opinion, because you made some really accurate, I guess you could call them predictions in 1990 with your book, The New World Order. What do you see for the next 25 years or even the near future of America?
I'll tell you what, Josh. I'll tell you what. Maybe what we should do is let this end.
Okay.
And I've given you people a lot to think about, and I want them to do that. Challenge me. I told you where to find it, read it yourself, get the documents out. Now you say, wait a minute, I did write these down, but I was listening. How can I verify this? Go to my DVD entitled America's Secret Destiny and watch it yourself.
Absolutely.
It's all probably even better than what we did here today. But it's 4 hours. Oh, no, wait a minute. I don't watch 4 hours. Okay, you don't care about your country. That's fine. Let it go. Let me just say this.
Sure.
We are in very deep trouble.
Yeah.
And the only way out of this deep trouble is education. I've never once in 50 years of research ever preached violence. Get your guns and kill these guys. No, never. Ralph will never say that.
Yeah.
I'm saying education. Moral people don't go out and kill people. They go and educate. That's what Christ taught us as Christians. You don't have the right to force people to become Christians. You don't have to. You got good news. This is called good news. I'm telling you, this is where we are. I didn't make any of this stuff up. And so the only way out of this is to do it and know about it and then teach others about this. Okay. That's enough, Josh. I gave you enough to chew on. I would let your audience listen to this, and then if they want to get back, go back, we'll talk about what our future will be.
Sure, absolutely. Well, that's a great final thought to end the show on. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and give us all this information. It is so important for America, just for any of us listening, to have access to this. And I can't thank you enough for taking all the time and due diligence to do this research and put it out there for the rest of us. And we'll definitely have to have you back on sometime.
It's a pleasure. Anytime I can be of assistance, please keep in touch.
Will do. Thank you so much. All right, hang on the line. I'll close us out. And to the audience, that again was Ralph Epperson. Check out his website. You can go to the show notes below. It's Ralph-Epperson. .com, and you can go to the show notes below. There'll be a link there, and I'll link the documents that we looked at, so you can follow along yourself. Check out his website and his materials. I highly suggest them. After reviewing his information, you'll never look at the world the same again. If you would like to find more episodes of the Sharpening Report, you can do so at ministudyministry.com and my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Josh Peck Disclosure. Make sure to subscribe and share. Also, if you care to help support Mini Study Ministry, you can do so at ministudyministry.com. Your donations go to the everyday running of Mini Study Ministry and help bring you more episodes of the Sharpening Report, as well as more books and other materials. And I'll say, as I do every episode, please only donate if you feel God leading you to do so. If you're not sure, or if you don't feel led, you can always pray for us. We can always use more prayer. We're not 501c3, so your donations are not going to be tax deductible. And I'm never going to be the type of person that's going to promise extra blessings from God or a miraculous tenfold return on your money or anything like that. We're not in the business of making promises for God, but what I can promise is your help, be it prayer or financial, is greatly appreciated. It keeps us going and is the only reason we're able to continue doing what we do. So all that being said, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight on the Sharpening Report. I am your host, Josh Peck, and as always, take care and God bless.